Hello friends, it's ADHD Dude, back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about ADHD, and the 3 types of it. So, when you are diagnosed with ADHD, you can be diagnosed with one of 3 types. You can be diagnosed with predominantly inattentive, hyperactive impulsive, or combined type. So, there are 3 types that you can be diagnosed with. What does each one mean? Well, let's find out. So the first type that we're going to be talking about is the predominantly inattentive type, which is more commonly diagnosed in girls than boys for whatever reason, not sure. But in the predominantly inattentive type for ADHD, they tend to get very easily distracted and have poor concentration and organizational skills. They miss details and they easily get distracted by other things going on around them or anything that's happening that's more interesting to them than what's actually supposed to be going on. They quickly get bored because they just can't focus and they get distracted easily, so they get bored because, like, oh, this thing's not grabbing my attention. I don't want to do it anymore. They also have trouble focusing on a single task to do at once because, again, they get easily bored and distracted and they can't focus. They also have difficulty organizing thoughts and learning new information because half the time they're trying to pay attention, but their brain is off in freaking La La Land or something, not taking in anything that you're supposed to be learning. They also tend to lose pencils, papers, like other stuff for like projects or homework or anything that they need for life. They tend to accidentally end up losing it, and which can really screw with you whenever you're trying to get an assignment done and you lost it. That's not fun. They also don't really seem to listen, which, on one hand, they might not be listening. On the other hand, they might be listening, and it just doesn't seem like it. They also tend to process information slower and have more difficulty remembering things accurately. Because, again, their brain's kind of off in La La Land, not really paying attention to what the heck is going on, so it's not really remembering everything entirely correct. They also sometimes have trouble following directions, because they might forget the directions, they might not understand them because their brain is not processing the information correctly, and so they might have issues just trying to do something that is often viewed simple. So, the second type of ADHD that we're going to be talking about is the hyperactive impulsive type. Now, with this type of ADHD, it can commonly disrupt class or work or other activities and be a distraction to others because they're hyperactive, they can be bouncing, fidgeting, but I will get to that in a hot second. So, people who have the hyperactive inattentive type tend to interrupt people more and don't have as many issues taking risks. They are more willing to risk something and not really think about the consequences. They tend to not slow down because hyperactive. They have a lot of energy going through them that they don't know what to do with. And they talk a lot, they'll fidget a lot, and it'll be hard for them to stay on task. So, often with people who are hyperactive and inattentive, they tend to squirm, fidget, and feel restless because, again, there's like a lot of energy going, they're just like, go, go, go. But there's not always somewhere to go to. It could just be, oh, you need to be sitting at this desk and learning math. And it's a struggle because they just want to like squirm, fidget, but it's distracting to others, which then gets them in trouble. They also will have difficulty sitting still. Going along with that, not being able to sit still can also be disruptive in a classroom setting. They also talk constantly, like I am right now. They talk constantly because there's just a lot going on in their head that they're just like going. Their brain's just going a mile a minute all the time, and it's really not a grand time. They also will touch and play with things even when it's inappropriate to, because, again, they don't really think about the consequences to their actions. They just do it, and then they're just like, oh heck, consequences. They also have trouble with quiet activities, because again, going, you have a lot of energy, you want to like do something, make noise, have some sort of stimulus. And so being quiet and doing activity does not usually bode well. And they also tend to accidentally act out of turn, and again, don't think about consequences, where they will just do something. And they'll just be like, oh wait, I didn't realize this would happen. Because they didn't exactly think it through, they just went for it. They will also tend to blurt out comments, even if they're inappropriate to the situation at hand, like dirty jokes or making really inappropriate jokes that aren't funny to anyone. And so, it's just a time and a half. Alright, the third and final type of ADHD is the combined type, where basically you don't exactly fall into the predominantly inattentive, but you also do not exactly fall into the hyperactive impulsive. Instead, you have symptoms of both, and it's the most common type of ADHD in children. And having both is a time, because I have both. I have combined type ADHD, and not being able to focus and having a lot of energy does not go well together for school. At all. And I know that a lot of people will say it's like, oh, everyone is somewhat hyperactive, impulsive, inattentive at times. It happens, that's just part of growing up and being a kid. But you see, it is more severe in people with ADHD to the point where it affects their lives on the daily. It will affect them at school, at work, in the home life, in social situations. It just is always there. It's always part of yourself that you're kind of trying to repress and try to come across as normal in society, because it's not acceptable very much. So they try to hide it, which only makes things worse in their own bodies and brains, which is a rant I can go on later. Alright, that's about it for this video, and I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you next time.